أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. This is the second video for Surah Al-Mutaffifeen, and inshallah we should finish the surah in this video بإذن. We're going to get started after saying أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
كلا إن كتاب الأبرار لفي عليين.
So in this ayah, كلا إن كتاب الأبرار, كلا, this is a mud followed by a hamza. So the ruling here is mud jaiz munfasil, extended for 4 or 5 counts. Inna nun harf ghunna mushaddad is a letter with ghunna. It has a shadda, so you hold the ghunna for 2 counts. Alif here is a natural mud extended for 2 counts. Al-abrara, lam here is a lam qamariya. Idhar qamari is the ruling, make it clear. Ba has a sukoon, it's a qalqala letter, so you make qalqala on it. Ra has a fatha, it is heavy. Alif here is a natural mud extended for 2 counts. The second ra here has a kasra, it is light. Abrari, abrari, lafi illiyin. Here you have a natural mud extended for 2 counts. And in the word illiyin, there's a special type of mud. It's not a very common word. It's not a very common type of mud. It's called mud at-tamkeen. Mud at-tamkeen. This happens when you have a ya with a kasra followed by a ya that is a harf of mud, a letter for mud. This first ya has a kasra, the second ya is a mud letter, so it's extension of the ya. Illiyin. And the mud at-tamkeen is normally 2 counts, but when you stop on it, when we stop on it, you can extend it for 4 or 6 counts. If, as is in this case, it's at the end of the ayah, so we're going to stop. And this noon will have a sukoon. So then, at that point, we can extend this mud for 4 or 6 counts. Normally, it is a minimum of 2 counts. Illiyin. So let's listen to that ayah one more time, and then we'll move on to the next ayah, inshallah.
كلا إن كتاب الأبرار لفي عليين.
So he only extended it for 2 counts in this situation. The next ayah.
وما أدراك ما عليون.
In this case, we have an alif here, it's a mud letter, followed by a hamza. The same ruling that applied here applies here. Mud jaiz munfasil, extended for 2, 4, or 5 counts. Based on our style of recitation, we extend it for 4 or 5 counts. Afterwards, we have a dal, which is a letter with sukoon, a qalqala letter with sukoon. So you make the qalqala. This is the lowest type of qalqala, by the way. In terms of weight, this is the lightest type of qalqala. Ra has a fatha, it is heavy. The alif here is a natural mud extended for 2 counts. Ma, alif here is a natural mud extended for 2 counts. Illiyun, this is not mad tamkeen. This is mad arid lissukun. The difference is in mad tamkeen, the ya is followed by another ya. But here you have a waw following a ya. So it's not mad tamkeen, it's mad arid lissukun, the normal mud that we have at the end of all the other ayats, and it's extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
كتاب مرقوم.
We have an alif here, natural mud extended for 2 counts. You have a tanween here followed by a meme. This is idgham bi ghunna. You merge the tanween into the meme and you hold the ghunna for no more and no less than 2 counts. كتاب مرقوم. So hold the ghunna for 2 counts. The meme has a shadda. It's a natural letter with ghunna. We already applied the ghunna since we merged the tanween into the meme. Ra here has a sukoon, it is preceded by a letter with fatha, so it is heavy. Qaf has a dhamma, it is heavy on the 3rd scale. And waw here is mad arid li sukoon, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
يشهده المقربون.
يشهده المقربون. Here you have lam qamariya, idhar qamari is the ruling, you make it clear. Qaf has a fatha, it is heavy on the 2nd scale. Ra has a fatha, it is heavy. Wow here is a mad arid للسكون extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
إن الأبرار لفي نعيم.
This ayah was present in Surah Al-Infitar, and we explained it in detail there as well. You can refer to that video, but briefly, Nun has a gunna, it has a shadda, so you hold the gunna for 2 counts. Lam qamariya, idhar qamari. Ba has a sukun, harf qalqala. Ra has a fatha, it is heavy. Alif is a natural mud, extended for 2 counts. Ra has a fatha, it is heavy. La fi, ya here, natural mud, extended for 2 counts. And the ya at the end here is the mud arid للسكون, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
على الأرائك ينظرون.
Lam here is a lam qamariya, idhar qamari is the ruling. Ra has a fatha, it is heavy. The alif mud here, araiki, araiki, the word is arika, that's the singular, it means a couch. Araik is the plural. So it's one word, therefore this mud letter here being present in one word with the cause for its increase in mud, which is the hamza. This type of mud is referred to as mud wajib muttasil, the required connected mud. And we elongate it for 4 or 5 counts. Yanzurun, nun with sukun here is followed by a dha. The ruling is ikhfa haqiqi. You hide it. You hide the nun into the dha. Retain the gunna. Yanzuru. Yanzuruna. The gunna should also be heavy because dha is a heavy letter. Dha has a dhamma. It is heavy on the 3rd scale. Ra has a dhamma. It is heavy. And wow here is mad arid li sukun, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
تعرف في وجوههم نضرة النعيم.
Ra has a kasra here, it is light. Ya here is a natural mud, extended for 2 counts. Wow here is a natural mud, extended for 2 counts. You have 2 has here, so be careful when you pronounce them. Wujuhihim, wujuhihi, right? Both has have kasras. Be careful when you pronounce them. The meme with sukun here is followed by a nun. The meme needs to be made clear. Wujuhihimna. Wujuhihimna. Make the meme clear. Nadrata. Nun has a fatha and it comes before a dad with sukun. So this is heavy on the 2nd scale because the dad has a sukun. The letter before it is preceded, it has a fatha. So it's heavy on the 2nd scale. Ra has a fatha, it is heavy. Nadratan na'im. Lam here is lam shamsiya. The ruling is idgham shamsi. You merge it into the nun. Nun is a letter that has a gunna. Hold a gunna for at least no more and no less than 2 counts. The ya is mad arid li sukun, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
يسقون من رحيق مختوم.
Yusqawna. Qaf here has a fatha. It is heavy on the 2nd scale. Waw is the harf al-lin. Mir rahiqin. Mirra. Nun with a sukun followed by a ra is idgham bi ghayri gunna. You merge the nun into the ra completely. You don't keep the gun. You don't retain any part of the nun, even its gunna. You don't retain the gunna. So you go straight from the meme with kasra to the ra. Mirra. Mirra. Ra has a fatha. It is heavy. Yeah, here's a natural mud, extended for 2 counts. And you have this qaf with a kasra. When qaf has a kasra, it's a heavy letter. When it has kasra, it's called tafkhim nisbi. Kha, qaf, and ghain are the 3 letters that have tafkhim nisbi. Nisbi meaning partial tafkhim. It is heavy, but it's partially heavy. So it is heavy on the 5th scale. The tanween here is followed by a meme. And this is idgham bi ghunna. This is where you merge, but you retain the ghunna. Rahiqim ma. Rahiqim makhtoom. Meme has a shadda as a result of the merging that takes place between the tanween and the meme. Make sure you hold the ghunna for 2 counts. Kha has a sukun. It's preceded by a letter with fatha, so it's heavy on the 2nd scale. The waw here is mad arid li sukun, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
ختامه مسك وفي ذلك فليتنافس المتنافسون.
Here you have a kha, as I mentioned earlier, tafkhim nisbi, kha with a kasra, just like qaf with a kasra. And the ghain, when a ghain has a kasra also, they're called tafkhim nisbi, partial tafkhim. So it's heavy on the fifth scale. Alif here is a natural mud extended for 2 counts. The waw here is a mud sila sughra, a smaller connecting mud, and it's extended for 2 counts only. Khitamuhu misk. Don't forget that kaf, when you stop on it and it has a sukoon, you need to let go of the point of articulation just slightly so that we can hear that it's a kaf and not another letter. Misk. وَفِي ذَلِكَ, yeah, here's a natural mud extended for 2 counts. Likewise, the alif here, same ruling. فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ. The lam here is called lamul amr, the lam of command. فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ. فَلْيَتَنَافَس is a command to strive towards something. They should compete for something. So the lam here is lamul amr, the lam of command. The ruling is idhar. You don't merge it, you don't hide it, you make it, pronounce it clearly. فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ. The alif here is a natural mud extended for 2 counts. Al-mutanafisun, lam qamariya, idhar qamari, make it clear. The alif here is a natural mud extended for 2 counts, and the waw here is a mad arid lisukun, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
وَمِزَاجُهُ مِن تَسْنِيمٍ.
The alif here is a natural mud extended for 2 counts. The waw here, again, is a mad sila sughra. Anytime you have this pronoun ha, this is the cause of the mad sila, the connecting mud. Okay, so the same ruling we had up here applies here. Min tasneem, the noon with sukoon here, preceded by a ta, succeeded by a ta, followed by a ta, is ikhfa haqiqi. You hide the noon into the ta. Min tasneem, min ta. Keep the ghunna of the noon. Don't go straight to the point of articulation of the noon. Instead, prepare your tongue to be at the point of articulation for the ta while pronouncing the ghunna of the noon. And the ya here is mad arid li sukoon, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
عَيْنًا يَشْرَبُ بِهَا الْمُقَرَّبُونَ.
Here you have the ya is harf al-lin. You have tanween here followed by a ya. This is idgham bi ghunna. You merge and retain the ghunna. عَيْنًا ya. عَيْنًا يَشْرَبُ. The ra here has a fatha. It is heavy. Biha, the alif here is a natural mud extended for 2 counts. But because we're connecting the ha here to the lam with sukoon, because we cannot have 2 sukoons back to back, we don't observe this natural mud. Instead, we say bihal muqarrabun. Bihal. So go straight from the ha to the lam. Aynan yashrabu bihal muqarrabun. The lam itself is a lam qamariya. Idhar qamari is the ruling. You make it clear. Qaf has a fatha. It is heavy on the 2nd scale. Ra has a fatha. It is heavy. And waw is mad arid li sukoon, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا كَانُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَضْحَكُونَ.
Here you have inna, noon harf غنة مشدد يغن بمقدار حركتين. الذين لام شمسية إدغام شمسي. Ya here, natural mud طبيعي حركتين, 2 counts. أجرموا, jim is a qalqala letter, make the qalqala, it's the lightest form of it. Ra has a fatha, it is heavy. Waw, natural mud extended for 2 counts. كانوا, the alif and the waw are both natural mud extended for 2 counts. من الذين, الذين, the ruling here is the same as here. Lam shamsiyya, idgham shamsi. Ya, natural mud extended for 2 counts. آمنوا, here, let me draw your attention. The hamza comes before the mud letter. In this case, it's called mud badal, an exchange mud. And the count for it is 2. So it's mud badal, but it is only elongated for 2 counts. Amanu, wow, natural mud extended for 2 counts. Yadhakun. The dad has a sukoon, but it's preceded by a letter with fatha, so it is heavy on the 2nd scale. The waw is a mud arid li sukoon, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِهِمْ يَتَغَامَزُونَ.
Here you have the alif here, natural mud extended for 2 counts. Wow, likewise, natural mud extended for 2 counts. Between the two, you have a ra with dhamma, which is heavy. bihim. Marru bihim. The meme here has a sukoon and it's followed by a ya. This is idhar al-shafawi. You make the meme clear. Bihim ya. Bihim ya. Yataghamazun. Ghain here has a fatha, it has an alif, so it's heavy on the first scale. And the waw here is mad'arid li-sukoon, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
وإذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم انقلبوا فكهين.
وَإِذَا انقلبوا. This here is called a hamzat wasl. Normally we would drop it in the middle of a sentence, as we will do about now. We don't say anything about this alif here because we're going to go from, if we were to say anything, it would be an alif with sukoon to a noon with sukoon, and we can't have 2 sukoons back to back. So we have to use the dhal. We drop the first alif because we don't need it. We go straight from the dhal with fatha to the noon. وَإِذَا انقلبوا. Okay? وَإِذَا انق. Now, the connection happens between the dhal with fatha and the noon with sukoon. وَإِذًا. Okay? But between the noon with sukoon and the qaf, there is hiding. There is ikhfa haqiqi. That's where the heaviness of the ghunna comes when we say وَإِذًا qa. Because the ghunna needs to be heavy because the qaf is a heavy letter. Okay, if there was no qaf after that noon and it was just a noon with sukoon by itself, it would be وَإِذًا, just like you would have a fathatain on the dhal. That's what it would sound like. But because it's followed by a qaf, the ghunna that we use here in the hiding of the noon into the qaf, the ghunna itself will be heavy when we pronounce it. So it would be وَإِذًا انقلبوا. The qaf has a fatha, it is heavy on the second scale. The waw here is a mud letter and it's followed by a hamza. Pay attention to this because it's not all mud that are alif mud like this right here. Okay, this too is a valid mud. It's a waw because it comes after a dhamma. So it's a normal valid mud, and this mud is called mud jaiz munfasil. It is the permissible separated mud, extended for 2 or 4 or 5 counts. Ila ahlihim. Likewise, the mud here, even though this one is an alif followed by a hamza, the same ruling applies. Mud jaiz munfasil yumad bimiqdar 2 أو 4 أو 5 حركات. أهلihim انقلبوا. Ahlihim, this meme used to carry a sukoon. But again, the noon here has a sukoon also. We can't have 2 sukoons. So in order to get rid of the issue of having 2 sukoons back to back, this sukoon on this meme was changed to a dhamma. So it became أهلihim انقلبوا. Okay? It's because of the 2 sukoons that met. That's the reason this was converted into a dhamma. Normally it would have a sukoon. Just like the hum here has a sukoon, this normally would have a sukoon. The meme here, sorry, would have a sukoon. So, أهلihim انقلبوا. The same ruling applies. Qaf has a fatha. The ghunna of the noon should be heavy because qaf is heavy. Qaf has a fatha, it is heavy on the second scale. But here, the mud is not the same because we don't have a hamza coming after the waw. So it's a natural mud extended only for 2 counts. Fakihin, the ya here is a mud arid li sukoon extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
وإذا رأوهم قالوا إن هؤلاء لضالون.
In this ayah, we have alif here, natural mud extended for 2 counts. Ra has a fatha, it is heavy. Waw is a harf al-lin. The meme is sakina here, followed by a qaf. The ruling is idhar al-shafawi. You make the pronunciation of the meme clear. You make the pronunciation of the meme clear. The qaf itself has a fatha and is followed by an alif. So it is heavy on the first scale. The alif is a natural mud extended for 2 counts. This waw is not a natural mud. It needs to be extended beyond 2 counts. The wavy sign is our clue. This is because the letter that comes after it is a hamza. So this mud here is mud jaiz munfasil. The same mud that we had here as well as here. Okay, so it's مد جائز منفصل يمد بمقدار 2 أو 4 أو 5 حركات, extended for 2 or 4 or 5 counts. The noon here has a shadda. It is a harf غنة مشدد, extended for the غنة itself should be held for 2 counts. هؤلاء, here you have alif mad followed by a hamza in one word. Therefore, I apologize. The ha here is separated, even though it's written together, just like ya ayyuha. Likewise, ha'ula'i, the ha here is a different word. It's a harf al-tanbih. That's what it's called. It's a harf that you use to call someone's attention to something. Ha, you use it to call someone's attention to something. So the mud here is actually a mud jaiz munfasil, just like the one we had between the waw and the hamza here. This mud here also. But again, our style of recitation, even this type of mud, we extend for 4 or 5 counts anyway. That's the reason in the recitation it would be ha'ula'i. But it's permissible to say ha'ula'i. Okay? As for ula'i, the mud here, followed by a hamza, is in one word. So this mud is mud wajib muttasil. Wajib meaning you must elongate it beyond 2. And our chosen count for elongation is 4 or 5 counts. La dallun, dad has a fatha, it is heavy. It is followed by an alif, so it's heavy on the first scale. Now, the alif itself is a mud letter followed by a letter with sukoon. Remember, when a letter has shadda, it means there are 2 of the exact same letter in that spot, the first of the 2 carrying a sukoon. So this mud letter is followed by a sukoon. And when that happens, we have the strongest type of mud that we have in Tajweed, and that is mud lazim kalimi muthaqqal, meaning lazim, compulsory for you to extend it to 6 counts. No stopping, no courting, nothing short of 6. La dallun. Now, when you come back from that mud, you still need to observe the shadda on the lam. So that's the reason for the dallun. Okay, the l is extending, is pronouncing the lam, the shadda on the lam. So make sure you do that. The waw is mad arid lisukun, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
وما أرسلوا عليهم حافظين.
Here you have mad jaiz munfasil, the same type that we discussed here as well as here between the waw and the hamza. It's jaiz munfasil, permissible to extend beyond 2. Our chosen extension is 4 or 5 counts. Ra has a sukoon, it is preceded by a dhamma, so it's heavy. The waw here is natural mud, extended for 2 counts. Alayhim, ya here is harf al-lin. The meme with sukoon here is followed by a ha, so the meme needs to be made clear, idhar al-shafawi. Alif here is a natural mud, extended for 2 counts. Dha here is a heavy letter, it has kasra, so it's heavy on the 5th scale. It's the lightest form of being heavy. The ya is a mud arid lisukun, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts. This is the rest of the surah.
فاليوم الذين آمنوا من الكفار يضحكون.
Here you have lam qamariya, idhar qamari is the ruling. You make it clear. The waw here is a harf al-lin. الذين is explained several times. Lam shamsiya, idgham shamsi, ya mad tabi'i, harakatain. Amanu, again, this hamza comes before the mud letters. Therefore, this is mud badal, an exchange mud, extended only for 2 counts. The waw here is a natural mud, extended for 2 counts. Al-kuffari, lam here. May I just mention, this used to be min, but they changed it to a fatha because, again, you cannot have 2 sukoons back to back. So you can't have noon with sukoon and then a lam with sukoon. So they changed the first one in order for us to be able to pronounce the second one. That's why I changed it. It now has a fatha. Min al-kuffari, lam qamariya, idhar qamari, make it clear. Alif here is a natural mud, extended for 2 counts. Ra here has a kasra. It is light. Min al-kuffari, ri. يضحكون, dot has a sukun, it's preceded by a letter with fatha, so it is heavy on the second scale. The waw is a mad arid للسكون extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts.
على الأرائك ينظرون.
All right, the ruling here is exactly as the previous ayah, ayah number 23, that has the same wording, على الأرائك ينظرون, but for brevity's sake, لام قمرية إظهار قمري, را مفتوحة مفخمة, مفخمة meaning heavy. رائكي, the alif mud here comes before the hamza. It is mud wajib muttasil, extended for 4 or 5 counts. ينظرون, noon with sukun, followed by a dha. Dha is a heavy letter. You hide the noon into the dha. It's إخفاء حقيقي, but the ghunna must be heavy because dha is a heavy letter. ينظو. Dha itself has a dhamma, so it's heavy on the third scale. Ra has a dhamma, it is heavy, and waw is a mat'arid li sukun, extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts. The last ayah.
هل ثوب الكفار ما كانوا يفعلون.
Here you have hal. Hal is a harf. So the lam here, it has a sukun. You say lam sakina, lam al-harf. حكمها الإظهار. The ruling is idhar, to make it clear. ثوب, again, whenever a letter has shadda, make sure you observe both. الكفار, لام قمرية, إظهار قمري. ألف مد طبيعي, حركتين. را مدمومة مفخمة, it has a dhamma, so it's heavy. ألف here and ألف here and واو here are all مد طبيعي, حركتين. يفعلون, واو here, مد عارض للسكون, يمد بمقدار 2 أو 4 أو 6 حركات. It is extended for 2 or 4 or 6 counts. This brings us to the end of Surah Al-Mutaffifeen. We ask Allah to accept this from us, our humble efforts. Ameen. Inshallah, we'll see you in the next video with Surah Al-Inshiqaq. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.